Bob Gibson, one of the fiercest competitors and greatest pitchers to ever play Major League Baseball, passing away on October 2nd, 2020. Tonight, we look back at his life and legacy on Remembering Gibby. Hello, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Over the next half hour, we will hear from many of Bob Gibson's former teammates, fellow Hall of Famers, and relive some of the greatest moments in baseball history, including his no-hitter, the 1968 season, and what he meant to postseason play for the Cardinals. But before we get to all that, let's relive what he meant to Cardinal Nation. A look back at the remarkable career of number 45, Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson was known as one of the most intimidating pitchers of all time, and he was known as one of the greatest players to ever wear the birds on the bat. Born in Omaha, Nebraska, November 9th, 1935, Gibson, the youngest of 7 children. His father passed away before he was born, and he spent his early years battling a number of illnesses, including a severe bout with pneumonia at age 3. By high school, Bob had overcome most of his childhood illness to become a multi-sport athlete at Omaha Technical High School. He excelled in baseball, basketball, and track, and was offered a contract to join the Cardinals after high school. But his brother Josh insisted he go to college, and he became the first African-American to receive a basketball scholarship at Creighton University. Donning the famous number 45, Gibson started both basketball and baseball for the Blue Jays, and later became the first member of the Creighton Athletic Hall of Fame. After college, Gibson's 2-sport career continued as he signed with the Cardinals organization and also the Harlem Globetrotters. In 1958, Gibby began to solely focus on baseball, and on April 15, 1959, he made his Major League debut, 12 years to the day after Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier. Gibson spent the next 2 seasons shuttling back and forth between St. Louis and the minor leagues, but by June 1960, he was a member of the Cardinals for good. He surpassed 200 innings for the first time in 1961, and by 1962, earned his first of 9 All-Star selections. The accolades would continue, as would Gibson's intimidating nature. Hoot, as he was called by his teammates, was part of the 1960s glory years, leading those teams to a pair of World Series championships, getting named World Series MVP both times. In 1964, Gibby went the distance in Games 5 and 7 of the Fall Classic victory over the vaunted Yankees.
The Cardinals won the pennant! The Cardinals won the pennant! The Cardinals won the pennant!
And in the 67 World Series against the Red Sox, Gibson completed all 3 games he started, including the Game 7 clincher. In 1968, Gibson assembled one of the greatest pitching seasons in baseball history and earned his first of 2 Cy Young Awards. Gibby completed 28 of his 35 starts, including 13 shutouts, and his microscopic 1.12 ERA has never been matched. During a 2-month stretch from June to July, Gibson won all 11 starts and allowed just 3 earned runs in 99 innings. But his most astonishing moment came in Game 1 of the 1968 series. A masterful 17-strikeout performance against the Tigers, a record that still stands today. Gibson's dominance in 1968 was the driving force behind baseball's decision to lower the mound to create more offense. On August 14, 1971, Gibson threw a no-hitter against the Pirates, and 3 years later became the second pitcher in Major League Baseball history to reach 3,000 strikeouts. Gibson spent all 17 seasons in a Cardinal uniform and still holds the franchise record for wins, complete games, and strikeouts. Gibson's number 45 was retired during his final season in 1975, and 5 years later, he was enshrined in Cooperstown. Gibson spent most of retired life in Omaha, Nebraska, but worked brief stints as a coach under Joe Torre with the Mets, Braves, and again with the Cardinals in the 90s. In 1998, a bronze statue of Gibson was unveiled in front of Busch Stadium II in celebration of the 30th anniversary of his 1968 season. A year later, Gibson was elected to baseball's all-century team. Since 1996, Gibson had served as a special instructor to the Cardinals and impacted many of the young pitchers in the Cardinals organization. Bob "Hoot" Gibson, one of the greatest Cardinals to ever put on the birds on the bat.
The greatest Cardinal pitcher ever, Bob Gibson, 1968 National League MVP, two-time Cy Young Award winner, 9-time All-Star, 9 Gold Gloves, 2-time World Series MVP and champion. After Gibson's career, he was elected into baseball's Hall of Fame in 1981. On July 17, 1974, Bob Gibson notched career strikeout number 3,000, the only Cardinal with 3,000 strikeouts.
2 men out, the pitch coming, a swing and a miss, he struck him out. And that's 3,000 for Bob Gibson against a standing ovation here at Busch Stadium.
Bob Gibson's number was retired by the Cardinals in 1975. Bill DeWitt Jr., Cardinals chairman, and Bill DeWitt III, Cardinals president, reflect on the life and legacy of Gibson.
I got to know him after he finished pitching, and you know, we had a really nice relationship. When I was with him, it was all baseball. I talked to him about young pitching and what he did and how he approached the playoffs. And he was very generous with his thoughts and what made him the pitcher that he was. So, you know, I really enjoyed being around him, and I couldn't, you know, absorb enough, you know, because he had a great arm, but that doesn't make you a great pitcher. He was a great pitcher in addition to being blessed with a great arm.
Not only an incredible talent, but he was probably as competitive a person on the field as you could possibly be. And that was part of the intimidation factor, because you knew he was just going to never give in. You know, he loved the Cardinals. He followed them. It was the only team he watched after he retired, and he just was a true Cardinal. And so anybody in the Cardinal family could reach out to Bob, and a lot of them did, particularly starting pitchers who wanted to understand how he prepared, how he approached the game, and how he dealt with certain situations. And he helped countless players along the way think about how to approach pitching, and, you know, all the way to the current guys. I mean, Jack Flaherty picked his brain recently and became friendly and felt like, you know, he had some great advice for him. So, so many years of that, and, you know, I've been lucky to have him, and he'll be sorely missed.
A remarkable 1968 season by Bob Gibson changed the game of baseball. We continue to remember Gibby when we return.
Two strikes and a ball. The pitch to K-Line. Got him! Listen to the crowd. Standing ovation for Bob Gibson. He has just tied a World Series record. Al K-Line, great star, playing his first World Series in 16 years, was his 15th strikeout. Once again, a standing ovation, a new World Series record. Just think, he's accounted for 16 of the putouts all by himself. He got him! Struck him out! Look at the scene on the field. McCarver, the first one. Now his infielders all over him. A new world's record of 17 strikeouts in one game.
Bob just struck out 17, setting a new World Series record. It's fantastic. I mean, the fans just stood and cheered you. That must be your most thrilling moment in sports. You've had many.
Well, I guess so. I didn't know what they were cheering about, and Tim came out in front of the plate, and I just turned around and looked at the scoreboard. I had no idea.
17 strikeouts, a postseason record that still stands today. Bob Gibson was a spectacle to watch in the World Series, helping the Cardinals to 2 World Series championships. His career World Series numbers are still among the best in baseball. 7 wins, 81 innings, 8 complete games, 1.89 ERA, nearly 100 strikeouts, and in 64 and 67, he was the World Series MVP. His teammates on his impact as they reflect on those 60s Cardinals teams.
He was a hard worker, and he put things together, and he came up with a good slider and everything, and he threw strikes, and he just went after the hitters. And when he was ahead, and he was put it in overdrive, you didn't get Bob Gibson. He was going to win.
But we know with Gibby pitching that we were not going to go into any long losing streaks. You know, I don't know what his record was after a loss, but I'm pretty sure it was awesome. And knowing that all we had to do is go out and get 1, maybe 2 runs, and it was a sure thing that we were going to win the ball game.
The thing is with Gibby, I didn't know any different, but I like to work fast also. To me, there was nothing to do but to stand on the mound and throw and pitch and stuff like that. And Gibby was the same way, but his ability to intimidate and his demeanor on the mound, because you know, you don't want to go up against Gibby because he's mean, you know. I mean, well, he wasn't mean, but you know what I mean. He's a tough competitor.
When the game starts, you feel like you're going to win. So I think a little bit of pressure is off of you as a player, because you know he's going to pitch a pretty good game. And if you score a couple of 3 runs, you're probably going to win. There's just a few pitchers that you have that feeling about.
Everybody's trying to pitch like Bob Gibson. I mean, he sets the example. I mean, we tried to act like him, you know, his on the mound mentality, as far as going after hitters, throwing strikes, being aggressive, and everybody wanted to be part of that winning pitching staff.
No other teammate knew the Hall of Famer better than his battery mate, Tim McCarver.
Well, our friendship had really nothing to do with performance. I mean, on the field, of course, everything was all business, naturally. The thing about Bob was he was very easy to catch. And he was hard to catch from a technical standpoint because the ball used to eat you up like it ate hitters up. The difference between Bob and other pitchers was that his break was late. And people have to understand that. That's what separated Gibson from other fastballs, from other sliders. You know, if I had to write a scouting report about Bob Gibson, I would say, and I'm serious, to my hitters, be ready. That's all. Be ready, because he's not waiting around for anybody. Forget the slider, everything's fast, be ready, but nothing else, because that's how imposing he was. He was a man unto himself. As a thinker, as a worker, he affected everybody else on the pitching staff. He affected Steve Carlton, who was very proud of the fact that he modeled some of the way he went about his business, because he always used to like to work fast. And Bob gave him the okay. Nelson Bowles was the same way. Dick Hughes was the same way. Young pitchers on the Cardinal staff who were mightily influenced by Bob. How can you not be in that type of success? He was a special man in so many ways, and it sounds so trite, but he took the word warrior and capitalized it across the board.
59 at Wrigley.
I never had a relationship with anybody else like that other than Steve Carlton, interestingly, who learned his slider from Bob. I loved him more than a brother. He was my friend.
During the 1968 season, Bob Gibson crushed the competition. It was an unbelievable year. 22 wins, 1.12 ERA, setting a Major League Baseball record. 28 of his 34 starts were complete games. He recorded 13 shutouts. He threw 268 strikeouts for the season. After 1968, Major League Baseball opted to lower the mound, in many ways because of the great Bob Gibson.
Oh, I'm still mad. As a matter of fact, the next year, I think I won more games. My ERA was just up a little bit, but I think I won more games, and it really didn't affect me that much. The hitters just weren't hitting the ball because we were making good pitches. We had a bunch of guys that knew how to pitch. So they decided they wanted to do something about it, and I say they, I'm talking about Major League Baseball. They decided to change the mound, and maybe that would help a little bit. They did lower the mound 5 inches the next year, and I'm not sure if it helped that much as far as the hitting was concerned, but it was a big concern for the pitchers because a lot of guys, especially the guys who threw straight overhand and had a big breaking ball, they had a hard time getting the ball down in the strike zone. And it took them a year or a little bit more than a year to try to adjust to that, and I think that was an injustice.
With the lowered mound in 1969, Gibson still finished with a 2.18 ERA and 269 strikeouts. When we return on Remembering Gibby, the legacy, number 45 left.
He looks in and gets the side. He starts the windup. Here's the pitch, and it's a strike called! A no-hitter for Gibson!
August 14th, 1971, Bob Gibson added to what would already be a Hall of Fame career, a no-hitter, striking out 10 of 31 Pirates faced. Gibson records the franchise's 5th no-hitter. 4 years later, Gibson retired, but left a lasting impact on the Cardinals organization that still felt today.
Here's a guy who they lowered the mound because of his athletic prowess, his ability to strike guys out and his ability to play. And we talk about pitching, but he was a great athlete, you know, having played with the Harlem Globetrotters, and probably could have done anything that he wanted to do athletically. And Clue tell me that if he had played shortstop, people wouldn't even know who I was. And he's probably right, because he was that good at what he did.
Bob was the leader of the intense competitors, and I asked him one time about the story. He says, "Oh, absolutely." Where at the National League All-Star game, he would not be near the teammates unless they were pitchers, and even then it was like an arm's length. But if they were hitters, he wasn't anywhere going to get close to them where they thought that they had any kind of softening of his, because he wanted them to know that it was all about him surviving and them taking a left turn to the dugout.
You know, when they made the statement, the quality start is a 6-inning start when you leave, you know, and it's in the 6th inning with 100 pitches. And Bob Gibson said to me 25 times at places I'd been with him, a quality start to me was a 9-inning win. That's a quality start. And when you look at his record, 54 or 5 wins, more complete games and wins.
Even when his playing days were over, Gibson didn't stay away from baseball very long. He returned to the game as a coach under Joe Torre with the Mets, Braves, and eventually back to the place where he belonged, the St. Louis Cardinals. His presence was always a gift around Busch Stadium, as players and fans alike adored him in Cardinal Red.
Bob was funny, smart. He bring a lot of energy. When he talked, you listen. It was good to have him around every year for many years. Yeah, we lose a game. Yeah, we lose a series. But the top thing, we lose one great man. So, just hard.
He's a legend first and foremost, and then he's somebody who, you know, I was lucky enough to develop a relationship with, and I was lucky enough to learn from. And you don't get that from people like that very often. You don't get the opportunity to learn from somebody of that caliber and somebody who is that good very often. So just to have the ability to form a relationship and you know, for him to offer up his advice and offer up anything that I could ask him, just for him to offer up any piece of advice he could give, it's special. I'm incredibly thankful to have had a relationship with him and to have learned what I learned from him, and to have just been able to talk to him and ask him for advice and for different things. And the last message that I got from him was, just be a man, be you. It's pretty simple. And so you take that to heart.
An incredible Cardinal and a legacy and a life that will always be remembered. Number 45, Bob Gibson. We take you back to 1981 and a portion of Bob Gibson's Hall of Fame speech. Good night.
My baseball career started, I guess, when I was about 10 years old. And I had an older brother, Josh. He's the one responsible for me learning all of the fundamentals of the game, and by God did he teach some fundamentals. As far as my playing is concerned, I guess I would have to say that there are a number of people that helped me grow up. My first manager in baseball, Johnny Keene, he showed me that he had confidence in me, and I guarantee you that nobody can participate in any kind of sports without confidence. And when I realized that he had confidence in me, then I felt that I had a lot in myself. Red Shengdies, he probably had more confidence than anyone. He's probably responsible for me winning as many ball games as I did. Red would leave me in there, regardless of whether the score was 20-0. He figured that I would hold him and we'd get 21. Playing baseball was my life, and it's something that I devoted 100% to. One writer asked me, what did I want to be remembered as? And I thought about it, and I said that I want to be remembered as a person, a competitor that gave 100% every time I went out on the field. Sometimes I wasn't too good, but nobody could accuse me of cheating them out of what they paid to see.